If you could walk us through what your typical work week looks like. So, what activities do you engage in? What challenges do you have? What's the team and the customer interaction look like? That would be fantastic.
Swapnil, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah. Can you guys hear me all right? So day in a life, right? It depends on what kind of engagement you are in. So I'm working as a program architect, and I've worked with a client where the scenario is such that I'm doing hands-on work, right? So that's not a typical program architect day in a life, right? You're not doing hands-on coding or anything, but I have done that as a program architect as well. So you have to just take what kind of client requirements are and what kind of contract you get assigned to, or SOW basically, right, with the client. But since last 1.5 years, I've been doing purely program architect kind of work, which is basically, working with the business as well as IT stakeholders, meeting with them and trying to understand their problems. And they typically assign you a very specific problem, and it could be technical or it could be a non-technical problem. By non-technical problem, I mean, for example, setting up a COE, right? So helping them with governance, basically. Not exactly setting up a COE, but giving them pointers on how to establish a governance. For example, they're having issues with their release management, that they're having a lot of bugs in production, right? So why is that? So they will come to us with this kind of problems, and then you have to go back and analyze what they are doing. How is the release cycle managed, right? What testing they are doing? Do they have enough number of sandboxes? Do they have right kind of test scripts? Do they have automation test scripts and things like that, right? Based on that, then you will go back and provide recommendations to them on the release management, right? So in this use case, I've not done any hands-on work. I've not gone and set up the Git or Copado or whatever for them. I'm just guiding them. Okay, this is how you will do it. I will take a couple of days or a week to do my research and then present my findings to them in a deck, right? If further, sometimes the client asks, okay, we are stuck in this specific so you have recommended this for us, but we are stuck in this specific thing, like we are not able to set up Git or we are not able to set up Copado or whatever. Then what I would do is I would go and set it up on my own sandbox and show it to them, right? So I'm not doing any hands-on work with the client. Typically, that's the role of a program architect. You are setting it up on your own sandbox and just presenting them as a proof of concept. I don't want to take any more time, so I mean, that's typically my day, how it looks like.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Swapnil. Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like it's dependent in your case upon the project that you're on and what the customer requirements for that project are. Not always hands-on, which is interesting. Over to you, Bibhu and Anuj.
Yeah, as in just to add on, I think yes, it is very much dependent on the engagement. But as a program architect, as in again, I'm talking about from my point of view. I'm currently working as an enterprise architect with my customer because I'm just not a program architect from Salesforce. I'm also working as a team of enterprise architect that the customer has. So it is what, as a program architect, what we normally do when we start any engagement, most of the time, we usually define what is our 30, 60, 90 days plan, like depending on how long that engagement is. And that is the conversation, the first initial conversation with our exec sponsor or whoever the C-level execs who is there. So exec sponsors are the people from the client side who would actually sponsor our role, is just to clarify, and or sponsoring the entire project. So we usually have that conversation when we start and make sure that that plan is ready. And in that plan, we do refine that plan over the period of time because we would have to have several conversations with particular people. Depending on the ask, then we move along, okay, how we are tracking around and giving those regular status reports, how we are tracking against those 30, 60, 90 days plan, or maybe 120 days, like depending again how long your engagement is. And as Swapnil already mentioned, it could be hands-on, it may not be hands-on. Like for my role, I was mostly doing is that I would, like sometimes you just go ahead and do some reviews of their existing org. Like they might have 5 orgs or 3 orgs. So you're doing some review and then giving them what is not correctly set up in their system. And that's probably the reason why you're probably having some issues. So it's like if you take that analogy of a patient and doctor, that is the always I give that analogy. Patients, as any client would come in with the symptoms, they would not know what problem they have. As a program architect, we ask questions. In place of think about a doctor will ask you a lot of questions to understand what are different symptoms, and listening to the symptoms make us okay. So these are the possible areas where you're probably having problems. So if we need to look in bit deeper, we would look in bit deeper through our like in again those language X-rays or MRIs or whatever, and we discover okay, exactly what is the problem, and then give them okay, this is the solution that you should be doing. Sometimes we support them when they're actually taking those corrective actions. Sometimes we don't. Like it again depends. Like if they don't, they have an in-house team and they can actually implement themselves all those changes that we suggested. They will go ahead and do it. I know it's again they're different as David probably asked. Like what are the week looks like and what are the challenges we face. Most of the time, the challenge is having a communication channel, right? So the most of the challenges, not technical challenge would as a technical architect, we are already there to have the knowledge of the system. It's more of communication, which comes in as a challenge, setting up that expectation with the client and having that regular communication and telling them, okay, this is right, this is wrong. What do you need to do? What do you don't need to do? And sometimes, as you probably all know, every organization have some, some amount of dynamics or politics in there. So you have to deal with that as well. So there are obviously, we just don't deal with clients. So when we go in as a program architect, so there are most of the time, there will be system integrators as well. So you're not just dealing with one set of user group, you're actually dealing with multiple sets of user group. So there are big accounts wherein there will be size like Accenture, Capgemini, Deloitte, they will be there and along with clients. So you are in between them. So you are coordinating or having discussions with them. So it's most of the challenges are around that. It is not around the technical challenges. Once you reach this stage, and once you have the knowledge of the platform, technical part is probably the easiest part, I would say.
Yeah, that's really interesting to take into account that your day-to-day for a specific customer is going to be largely influenced by the set of capabilities they have inherent at their organization. So to your point, if they have a lot of developers, you may not need to do any hands-on at all. You're just advising the developers and you're providing that missing piece. It's funny because you mentioned all the different dynamics that you have to take into account and the politics. And you'll find that some organizations within that same organization, independent of the partners, you've got folks that are supporting the solution and supporting, what the architect is saying. And then you have the folks that do not want Salesforce to succeed, and they do not want the architect to succeed. And so they're kind of warring in between each other. And that's always fun to deal with. I've run into that on the project. But over to you, Anuj, if you wanted to add anything.
No, definitely. I think, again, same thing. It depends on type of project and the phase of project, right? So it could be a greenfield project, what is something like a new implementation. So if that is the case, our day in life would be going through, like if it is a new project, we are going to have workshop with the client, understanding the system landscape, things like that, creating a system design document. We usually have a team of our own developers, so we manage them, we work with them, create. I mean, if that's not a greenfield, this could be a, like we call it, org assessment project. So we, as we were saying, we do an org assessment where we find out that okay, what is this org is up to, like what are the limitation, what are the things it is reaching, and what are the like diagnostic we need to do. So basically it depends on the project, or day-to-day life depends on if it is an Android project, it will be a different type of day-to-day activity. For sure, different clients have different, what we say, arms, like IT versus business. They always has some amount of differences. So we have to deal with them. We have to make a balance between both of them. So all this comes into picture apart from the technical skill set we do.